All right. This is our 11th study in the series, and this one is entitled The New Covenant. And so today we've got Amy as a special guest, and I suppose this particular study is really about, this new covenant with Christ and our experience of conversion, and that new relationship in marriage that we enter into that changes us. So, without too much hold up, we're going to read Exodus chapter 19, just to get a little bit of a context of the first covenant. It was new when it was, before it was old, with the Israelites that God made. And so, Amy, if you want to read for us Exodus 19, verse 4 to 8.
Sure. Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord hath spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord.
Yeah. Nice, interesting passage there. So I don't know, when you read that, thinking about covenant, what stands out to you? What do you resonate with the most in there?
For me, it's the obedience to the Lord. And, I think that God foresaw that, as he had a people, he foresaw that we would worship him and that we would have that covenant with him and we would obey him. And so he used his power to draw them out and to bring them to him. That his whole will for mankind and creating us was to serve him. And so from his love for us, that's when we will, love and serve him
Absolutely.
in return. And so we become his people. But he knew that from the beginning, that he would have a people in the world.
He did, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, with the verse that says, you've seen how I, rescued you and bear you on eagle's wings. So he's actually telling them, look, I've done this for you. And so now that's the basis for you being able to obey, because of the love that I've shown to you. When I read this one, for me, what stands out is that, I don't know if you've ever signed up for an internet account or got a new gadget, and then it says, I have read the terms and conditions. Have you ever read them?
No. Like this.
Next.
And then tick.
And when I read this here, it's such a beautiful moment on God's part. He's giving this romantic spiel to this bride that he's espousing. And, she's like, yeah. All right. Let's get on with it. So there's a contract being proposed. And because there's benefits, you're going to be a peculiar people to me. I'm going to give you this promised land and, sign here. But actually, they haven't read the terms and conditions, and they're like, all that the Lord has said we're going to do.
Yeah.
But they don't know what the Lord is actually expecting of them, but the rewards are more enticing to them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, when we have our own individual walk with the Lord, we don't know what God is going to do in our lives, but we see the little things that he does, and then as he shows us the little things that he does, we also see our sinfulness at the same time. And we don't want to be a part of that, but we struggle so hard. So that the relinquishing of ourselves into, doing what he wants can be a really difficult thing.
Absolutely.
But the more and more that we do, listen to that voice and, put ourselves aside, the stronger that voice will get in guiding us. It's, and it's just that gentle heeding call that he constantly does, and we need to be open to hearing it,
Totally.
and listening to it.
So when you were going to obviously make a commitment to Christ, you know, did you take time to count the cost, like, you know, from who you were before, which we haven't heard, which we're curious to hear about, to who you are now? Obviously, there was so much of the things that you used to do that you had to give up.
Well, are you
know.
ready?
So you know, I'm curious to know, and what was it like, you know, thinking, man, really, this too?
Yeah. You know, my nan was, she believed in God, and she had this plaque. She had the Lord's Prayer in her house, and I was always like fascinated, you know. And she gave me the plaque, and the thought of God, you know, was a beautiful thing. You know, we don't have any examples of Christ around us, you know, so we have our own, you know, our own ideas of what we think God is. And I think that even though when I was in the world, in the back of my mind, I always asked, you know, are you there? You know, are you really there? We go through our hardest times. We make such bad choices. And my life was just full of acting off impulse, acting off emotions, you know, and you hear an eye for an eye. And, you know, so you think that you have to always, you know, repay the things that are wrong in your life and the things that are coming bad at you. And that was the things that, you know, that I believed that God was, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth and all these things. But I never studied the Bible, of course. But and that's a big thing about what we get told about God, is we've got to be careful how we represent Christ. You know, we've got to remember that all those things are gone when Jesus came, and that his example is how we should live. So when I knew that I was living a sinful life, when it came to that point where you're at your lowest of your low, you know, and you're like, well, it's it, I'm out, or, you know, I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't have any way out. There's no escape. You know, somebody's got to help me out here. And you do call on the Lord. It's like, help me. So you throw yourself down, and even though you may not change at that point, the changes do come, you know, very slowly and steadily. And the more you call for him, he will make himself known. And so, you know, eventually we can either continue to ignore that voice and keep walking in our own way, even though we know, you know, he's there. Why are we listening to ourselves? Why do we still want to go and do what we want to do? But when we start to surrender and go, okay, you know, I'm going to forgive this person, then that's a little bit of, you know, a little bit stronger heading of his voice in you. Absolutely. And that's another change in you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say sorry for this thing that I did instead of being stubborn. Then that grows again in you, you know. So the more and more that we're in the Word, the more he edges away at our hard shell and softens us. And, you know, it's a journey that'll last a lifetime. But hallelujah, I'm in until the end, you know. Like, I can see the transformation in my life already. The blessings that have come, the more that I'm grateful for everything that he's done for me. I wouldn't have seen it. I would have thought it was all me before.
You know, that's a very interesting perspective, you know, of that progression. You know, I'm thinking as we're moving into the next section of actually the terms of the covenant, you know, obviously you're married to a lovely husband, and he courted you somehow, you know. And often, you know, I know with me, my wife didn't like me straight away, you know. I had to work at it, you know. She had to ease it. And so here, you know, what you're describing, you know, of this progressive falling in love, you know, rather than love at first sight. I suppose, you know, as we read the 10 Commandments, it'll be interesting, you know, how to view them, especially given the Bible says God is love, you know, his law is love. And how some people may read the same commandments and see so much control and restriction and you know, domineering. So anyway, maybe we could read Exodus 20.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Exodus 20, 1 to 17. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honour thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbour, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbour's.
All right, got there. So I mean, maybe we can start with the first 4, just thinking of it as a covenant, So it's a two-way thing. How do you take, especially the first 4, as God is giving commandments, but in terms of a covenant, a relationship?
Yeah, so, it's kind of expected in a relationship that you kind of give and take, right? You can't just take. And when it's got love, involved, then it's respect. And it's with God, it's also due, to him. He created us. We're here. We wouldn't be here without him. But he's mostly doing it for us. It's like a boundary that if we cross, we enter into dangerous ground, So those 4 that have that relationship with God is really important, because it's the foundation of our faith. It's the foundation of our principle.
Yeah.
It's, if we choose not to walk with God, then we're choosing other ways to walk, and it's not going to do us any good at all. He knows that, and he set that in a law. And it can't be changed. It can't be broken. Yeah. Just like you can't change gravity. It's always...
It is the way it is.
It is the way it is.
Yeah. I think of them like wedding vows, that, they say, I'm taking you today and forsaking all others. That's what they say, right? To the spouse at the wedding. It's like, from this point on, no other woman is going to be... able to take my attention. I'm giving myself solely to you, which is, have no other gods before me. It's logical. It's like, I'm giving myself to you wholeheartedly, and so you do the same, and then I think of the idol one, like, imagine seeing your husband having a screensaver of another woman, or scrolling and checking out pictures of other ladies. How would you feel? Or having a picture of his ex on your family wall?
Well, the love isn't really there, is it? No, it's not. I can't see that you can, if you've got a husband and you're looking at another man, that you do genuinely love them. I don't think you can even.
It's not possible, yeah.
So if, you can't serve 2 gods. There's only one God.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then, I don't know if you took Jay's name.
Pardon?
Did you take Jay's name?
Yeah.
You did. So you're now Amy...
McPherson.
All right. Because, it says, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. So obviously you took the name, and it's now the family name. Yeah. And so when they see Amy acting amok down the street, it's like, oh, that's Jay's wife.
Oh, yeah.
And it puts shade on him and his whole family and your whole family.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, prior to being married to Joseph, that wouldn't affect our relationship right now. And it's like when we walk with the Lord, when we choose to be baptized with him, and everything that we've done in the past, he's forgiven and it's all gone.
Absolutely.
But if we are walking with the Lord and then we choose to represent him in the wrong way, you know, you can say that it's you, but mostly it's everybody that's looking at you.
Absolutely.
You know, especially those that are looking at Christ.
Absolutely.
And they're looking and searching for him. And they want, you know, they want to see that he is doing all the wonderful things. Well, he is doing the wonderful things,
Absolutely.
but he wants you to show them that he's doing all these wonderful things in your life.
Yeah.
So,
especially if you're in love, you want to show off the one you love, not the opposite.
I'm married and I'm going to go down. I'm going to go, oh, my husband's so horrible.
Yeah.
He's terrible. And I don't want to be married to him anymore. Oh.
Do you want him?
Yeah,
No.
That's terrible.
I've got a husband.
Yeah. So you know,
Christ is my husband.
that's just it's logical, you know.
Yeah.
The level of commitment. And how about the Sabbath day one?
The Sabbath day. See, when God said, remember the Sabbath day, he did it from creation, you know, so it's got to be good for us, right?
Totally.
And the meaning to, you know, it's sanctified it and it's holy as if we keep it, you know, if we keep it, the sanctifying that it does for us, you know, and the blessing that we get from it with our families, with our connection with God. It's very important.
Of course.
You can't just carry on 7 days a week or even just ignore the Sabbath and just abuse it. It's definitely something that increases your faith. Totally. You know, and it's making sure that you're putting God first in your life by honoring his word.
Yeah.
You know, honor everything else. And honor the Sabbath as well.
It's funny, you know, if you had to go to school on whenever days you choose, whatever times you chose, imagine what life would be like for parents, teachers, trying to organize everyone just showing up whenever they want.
Organization is so important.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, you know, work wants set times. Everything in your life demands time and they demand regularity. So the only way you can actually give God time consistently to show you value him is to say, okay, this is the time God says, look, I will have date night every Sabbath day, date day, every Sabbath day, and I want to spend time with you. And it's fixed every week. Imagine, like, you're married. Do you guys have fixed date day every week? I wish. It's true, right? Every other time, there's like things pulling you, and you got to do this and this. And so, you know. Yeah.
You know, life is so busy that, you know, me and my husband, we cherish the time that we get together, you know, which is like the 5 minutes before we go to sleep, you know. But Sabbath day is what I really love. It pulls me and my husband together as well, and my children, you know. So, you know, Sundays we'll be working on the house.
Chores, preparing.
Saturday is the day that we get to stop everything, and you know, we make sure that it's a big learning day. Yeah, you know, it's a big learning day as well. It's showing kids the values of a family, which is very important, and making sure that me and my husband are walking with the Lord. Yeah. You know, so it's Sabbath day is very important.
It's very important. Yeah, my wife's a teacher, so she's always got work all the time, and so Sabbath is like.
Yes.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So it's very good.
It's really good to remember that you know, we've got to be careful of our thoughts on Sabbath as well. You know, all through the week we kind of just let them go and do their own thing, and then on Sabbath it's like, okay, I'm not going to think about all the things that I need to do today, or things that are worried about me next week, or the bills that I need to pay.
Absolutely.
You know, so we're just purely on the word.
Yeah, it's like a detox, you know. And I think stress is huge today.
It is.
And it's like biggest de-stressor. Okay, today it's like,
breathe. If we didn't have Sabbath, we'd still be working on other things, you know. And you see people get really, you know, burnt out. Yeah, definitely.
All right, now maybe we'll jump over to Hebrews chapter 8, because the Matthew one just highlights the fact that the law is based on love. You know, that's what it hangs on, and I think we spoke about that. So we'll jump over to Hebrews chapter 8 and we'll read verse 7 to 12.
Cool. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I had made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. Is it to 12?
Yeah.
And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more.
Yeah. So obviously this is the whole new covenant concept, because something went wrong with the old one. So I don't know what stands out to you in this one.
I love this verse because we know that the sacrifices of the animals weren't going to last. God knew that it wasn't going to last. From the beginning it was strong, but to the end it was, your sacrifices don't please me. They're just,
there's
you
no
can
meaning
come
in
every year and you can ask for forgiveness, and the next year you can sin again. It doesn't do anything to the heart. So when Christ the Messiah was to be our sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, and we need to look upon him like, what an amazing thing. He saw the cross coming, and as God, he didn't have to do that. But if he didn't, we'd be lost. We'd have absolutely no hope at all.
Absolutely.
So for that amount of love, wow,
It's deep, yeah.
and we're acknowledging that and saying, well, yeah, I don't want that life anymore. I live a life in you.
Yeah.
Is a continual work. It's a continual progress, but God knows it's of the heart.
Definitely.
So it's an amazing, I love it.
It is beautiful. And, for me, I see this like a relationship, and then one spouse cheats, because it says, we had a covenant. We were married, but you cheated on me. He says that to us. You cheated on me, but he says, look, I still want you. I want to make we want to have I want to marry you again, not like before. This time I want it to come from your heart. I want you to choose me so that you can love me, because I'm going to write my laws in your heart. And, no one will teach his neighbor saying, know the Lord, for they'll all know me from the least to the greatest. And I think, wow, you're talking about the sacrifice of Christ. Imagine the spouse that cheats on you, So say it's better this way. Imagine you cheat on your spouse, and then he sacrifices his life for you while you were in that unfaithful state. Yeah. Because normally if someone cheats on you, like you
just walk away.
They're out to the curb. I don't want to see you again, But then, to be loved when you feel the most unworthy, you're filled with guilt, you don't want, you wish they could just bash you in the face to get it over and done with, because you're so, it's a terrible feeling, but to be loved in spite of such a huge, disgraceful sin is what I see in this text, that I'm going to make a new covenant with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think even more so as well is that, if you were to forgive your partner for cheating, you obviously see something in them that shows them that, they do love me, but they've made a mistake. And then you forgive them. How great is that forgiveness for them?
Absolutely.
So when we were in that position, and God forgave us,
I know.
what an amazing thing to be forgiven for such a horrible thing.
Absolutely.
And he's seen that, that we can love him, and that's why he is calling us, because he knows it, he is there. He is there in everybody.
He is.
And that's that empty, that's that hole that everybody is searching to fill, So if we fill it with him, man, that's so powerful.
It is deep. Yeah.
It's healing, it's all those things.
It's transformative, because that's really what changes us, because it's like, man, I don't deserve anything. No. Look at what I've done. Because I think this even applies to when you've become a Christian, because you do fall.
Yeah.
You do fail when you've already made a covenant with God, and you often think, oh my, I can't even come to God. I've just messed up so bad. And here it's like, no. I want to make a new covenant with you, because it shows the heart of God towards us, even when we stumble, Very good. Last passage. All right. We might be on time. I don't know. I'm not even checking. Hebrews 9, verse 14 and 15.
How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God? And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any going forward if God didn't make that new covenant.
There is none.
No, it would have ended well before Malachi, it would have ended, there would have been nothing.
Totally.
But throughout the whole Bible, even from the beginning, it tells us of the Messiah.
Yeah.
It's a shadow of the Messiah. And people try to segregate and they try to separate things and they try to say that this doesn't count. The whole Bible is relative, like the New Testament is the actual, it was Jesus. But the Old Testament was just a shadow of those things. So we were being told by the prophets and everything what was to come. And then the New Testament is the outgoing,
the reality
it is the building of the kingdom of God. So we've got to, it's not about taking what we think and what we know, just take the Bible as it is,
Absolutely.
and listen to what it's saying because it's true. And there is no progression unless we accept these things, the problem with today is that and in the past is we've taken things out to our preferences rather than taking the Bible as a whole. And now as we look to the end times and you see the whole thing come together, you've got to listen to what the whole thing is saying to
That's
you.
right.
But Jesus is, he is the only way that we would have been saved. There is no other way that we would have been saved. And then that's it. It's the end. It's the final end of the story. You know what I mean? Like, we have to do our part.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's deep, Yeah, like all through the Bible, there was this anticipation because God was making a covenant and, he says to Abraham, walk before me and be perfect. He says to the Israelites, obey. And so all through that journey, there was no one who could fulfill the covenant and what it really demanded, for the blessing of God to really rest upon us.
Is that for the...
You think the covenant with the Israelites was like obey.
There was only two.
And they failed.
Yeah. But there was still a people.
Yes.
And that's what we've got to remember is that the majority of us, we might not think, but you can do it. Like two of them came through, but he still had to have that quality. It had to be that obedience.
That's
it had to be that real love. We can't be flimsy about it. We've got to, it's just God or nothing. We've got to obey or nothing. We can't change anything. Like, you can't go, oh, sometimes this pen drops, sometimes it doesn't. Like, it's the same with our dedication to his love.
Absolutely.
It's our response to his love.
And it's a contract. It's like, wow,
Yeah,
we're going to sign. And people take their contracts for houses, bank loans way more seriously than this contract, which is the most important contract of your life. Like, you're signing your life,
Yeah. But that's another problem too, is that people are scared of the consequences that will happen to them, but they're not sad of the sin that it is,
Absolutely.
And a lot of the time we will make a mistake, but we'll be afraid of that mistake because of the consequences that will happen to us, but not hate the mistake because of what it actually is. And we've got to hate sin. We've got to turn ourselves away from sin.
Yeah.
Not just be afraid of what it's going to do to us.
That's right. It says in Genesis 6 that it grieved the Lord in his heart because of the wickedness of man upon the earth. And you think, wow, God feels it when we sin because there's a covenant here. He made us, he's like a parent watching your child going down, off the rails. It grieves him in his heart, and I think we can get detached from God's emotion and just think he's just this thing. People say God is something out there. Something doesn't feel. Something doesn't feel or anything. But here it says, the sacrifice of Christ purges our conscience because now God is not that thing out there. He's a person, he's Christ who loves you and feels, and would give his life for you. All of a sudden, it's not like some story over there. It's like, oh, this is me, personalizes it and really touches your heart and mind.
Absolutely. If we connected with that, then we would take more responsibility with the things that we do because we'd be like, is this pleasing God or
Absolutely.
am I displeasing him? Is he disappointed with me? But yeah, you're absolutely right. If he's somewhere
Something
over
out
there and blame everything on him, like
Yeah.
he's got some responsibility to us. No, you know, we've got a responsibility to him.
Absolutely.
He wasn't the creator of sin, you know.
That's right.
So yeah, it's our choice.
Very good. Amy, it's been a blessing chatting.
Thank you so much.
Really
This
good
was a
insights.
blessing.
Yeah, and I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless.
God bless you too.